Hi guys, welcome back to Heritage Homestead. There are a lot of wheels in motion on our little suburban homestead right now. We're getting the first harvests from the garden. These radishes are going to be roasted because that takes the pepperiness out of them, which means my kids will actually eat them. We're harvesting our first lettuces. These are the Little Gems lettuces. And planted in among my garlic is the salad bowl mix. I'm really liking this system of planting lettuce in the shade of my garlic rows. In the lower garden, John has just finished building 2 more raised beds, which I'm so happy about. We need the space, and also I think it makes this lower garden look more complete. So these need to be filled this week. And we've also gotten a new colony of bees. They are waiting to be moved into their new home in my top bar hive. This is not my first colony of bees, and it's not my second. If at first I don't succeed, I'm going to keep trying, but I'm really hoping to pour a lot of love and care into this hive, and this will be the one. With the beautiful weather we've been having lately, it's tempting to spend all my time outside, but today I have some inside work to do. I have some pumpkins from last year's garden that are starting to go bad and they need to be preserved. So we're going to do a little canning today. These are my Long Island cheese pumpkins. I have about 4 or 5 of them left, and they're getting to the point where the insides are turning gray. When I cut it open, I can see that the inside does not look fresh. I don't have a root cellar, so these need to be used ASAP. Some of them have gone to the chickens, which is fine. I'm glad to do that versus just putting in a compost bin. But I'd really like it to feed my family. That's what I grew it for. So today we're making Thai coconut squash soup. I know that that is not a soup that necessarily holds mass appeal. I was thinking as I decided I wanted to make this soup that this is not a video title that people instantly click and think I have to have Thai coconut squash soup. But we have pumpkins that need to be used. And John and I my husband John and I love Thai flavors. So that is right up our alley. I think I like this one better. I'm never sure which one I'm going to want for any given task. All right, pumpkin's finally ready to be cubed. This is definitely the most labor-intensive part of this recipe. It's just getting the pumpkin to the point where it's ready to go in. This recipe can be made with pumpkin, with butternut squash, any type of orange winter squash will have the right flavor and texture. Okay, I finally have a full bowl of cubed pumpkin or winter squash, whatever you want to use. So I'm ready to prep the rest of my ingredients. I should mention this soup comes from the all-new Ball Book of Canning and Preserving. This has been a great one for me for meals in a jar and soups. I am going to do a batch and a half. One batch makes 6 pints, and I'm using my Nesco canner today. It holds 5 pints. So if I'm gonna get out 2 canners, I figured I might as well do a batch and a half and fill them up, aim for 9 pints. So all my amounts that I'm looking at are 1.5 batches, but I'll put the recipe down below so that you have all the amounts for a single batch. So next it calls for, I'll start with the garlic. Next it calls for 3 garlic cloves. I'm going to do 5. John and I have always loved Thai flavors. We've always enjoyed eating Thai food together when we can. And we actually went to Thailand together before we had kids. It was really special. I feel lucky that we got to do that. We bought the kind of tickets that come with a 24-hour layover. They were budget tickets. We backpacked, we stayed in hostels, we ate a lot of food, and went on a hiking trip into the jungle. It was a really special time. So I envision having these jars of soup on hand and just opening one up for lunch and kind of being taken back to that time. Garlic is ready. Next, I'll chop my onion. The recipe calls for shallots. For me, onions and shallots are interchangeable, and I always would rather use something I have on hand than buy something. So this is what I have on hand. I'm just going to put in one onion. Next are chilies. The recipe calls for Thai chilies, and I don't have those available to me. My local grocery store actually only carries jalapenos. I'm in central Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania Dutch are not really a spice-loving people. I did not grow up eating anything spicy. So I definitely, when I went into the store, I was hoping to find, well, actually I sent John to the store. I was hoping that he would find serranos because they're a better substitute for Thai chilies than this. But our local store doesn't even carry serranos. It was definitely a moment of realizing that we're not in Texas anymore. You can find a variety of chilies at the grocery store in Texas. So that's fine, no problem. We're going to use jalapenos today. And as an aside, in terms of canning safety, I realize I'm showing several substitutions here. Substituting one kind of pepper from another is always safe. That doesn't impact canning safety. Next up is my ginger. I like to mince ginger by peeling it and then chopping, finely dicing. I love the smell as I'm prepping ginger. Oh, that smells so fresh and good. I have a feeling I will have some of this for lunch today. It's always ridiculous when I can something and then open it that day, but I'm often excited and just go for it. Finally, I need some lime zest and some lime juice. I always like to roll my limes and loosen up those juices. And here again, I'll mention the recipe calls for bottled lime juice. Ooh, that's dry lime. And if I were water bath canning, I would never do fresh instead of bottled because the acidity level of bottled lime juice is controlled. But because I'm pressure canning, I know that this lime juice is not part of what's keeping this food safe. The recipe's not relying on its acidity, so I can squeeze fresh. I almost forgot, I also need to dice some bell peppers. The recipe calls for 1, so I should be doing 1.5, but this red bell pepper was pretty small. I've kind of been disappointed in some of my grocery store produce lately. This is not a great pepper, so I'll do 2. That'll be a good amount of pepper. This is my favorite point in the cooking process, when all the ingredients are prepped and we just get to enjoy the actual cooking and canning. I'm adding 3 quarts of chicken broth. I have 1 quart of homemade, but I can never seem to keep enough of that on hand. So I've got some stuff from the carton too. Then I'm adding in some red pepper. This is something you could easily eliminate if you don't enjoy the heat. I will taste and adjust this. I'll start with a lighter dose. Then garlic. And the jalapenos. I think I'll actually start with not adding all of these. It suddenly occurred to me that this might be a little hot for me, so I'll start here and taste and go from there. Next, the recipe calls for lemongrass. I don't have access to fresh lemongrass. At this point, you'd put it in and then allow it to simmer for 20 minutes and give its flavor to the broth, then take it out. I do have access to lemongrass paste, so I'm going to start with a tablespoon of this. Once this comes to a boil, I'll turn it down to a simmer and I'll simmer for 20 minutes just to allow all those good herbs to give their flavor to the broth. Just realized I forgot this ginger. This hasn't reached a boil yet, so that's fine. Now we're ready to simmer for 20. All right, this has had 20 minutes to simmer. If you're using lemongrass, this is the point where you take it out because it's infused in the broth now. Now we're ready to put in everything else. So I'm gonna carefully add my squash because I don't want to burn myself. It's always nerve-wracking. 2 tablespoons sugar. 2 teaspoons salt. My shallots / onions. Wow, I didn't anticipate this pot getting so full. I think we'll be all right. My lime juice and lime zest. And the peppers. I'm going to bring this back up to a boil and simmer for 5 minutes. As I'm waiting for that to come back up to a boil, I'm going to give the broth a taste. At this point, everything's in it that's going to be in it. So this would be the time when I can adjust my heat a little bit if I want to add in more jalapenos. And I can also adjust the sweetness or the tanginess. I actually got to take a cooking class when we went to Thailand, and they always encouraged me at the end to taste and then adjust for acid versus sugar. So they would add more sugar. I forget what the name is for the type of sugar they would use, but it was pasty. It was much less processed. Yeah, so it was kind of a sugar paste, and they would often finish by tasting and then adding either more sugar if they thought it needed to be sweeter, or more fish sauce or lime juice, something acidic. So let's give it a taste. Oh, that has enough kick for me. Oh, I'm glad I didn't add in all of the jalapeno. That is delicious. That is, I honestly wasn't sure what to expect from this soup. I don't eat many vegetarian things. I'm a meat kind of person. That is a delicious broth. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna leave it as is. While that's simmering, I'm just gonna prep my canners. So I'm making sure that I've got the canning rack in the bottom of each one, and then each one gets 2 quarts of hot water. My jars are warmed and ready to be filled. Look at that beautiful color. That is just a pretty soup. I like to start when I'm canning soup with a slotted spoon so that I can distribute all the solids, and then I'll distribute the broth. I just don't trust myself to get things evenly distributed. Otherwise, I don't want to have one jar that's mostly broth and then one jar that's mostly solids. I've been soaking my lids in a bit of warm water just to help activate that seal. I'm using my 4 jars lids today. These have done really well for me. So I'm ready to wipe down rims and then get on lids and bands. So I'm just going to close and swivel, close and swivel. I'm going to make sure that each of my pressure limiting valves is set to exhaust. I'm using the black pressure limiting valve, but if you live 1,000 feet above sea level or higher, you should be using the green valve. Then I'll set to high. I'll put 75 minutes on the timer and start. Now I'm just waiting for it to begin a countdown. Eventually this chase bar will turn into a countdown that says E10, and that will count down to E0. Thanks for joining me for another canning day. I know that there are some of you watching who are canning people and some of you who are cooking people, and I know I have a few who watch who are really mostly gardening people. So I'm really trying to balance what I share with you because I like all of these things and I spend time on all of these things just about every week. If there's anything you'd like to see more of, let me know in the comments. Next week, the videos will start looking a little bit different for the month of May. My mom typically watches my kids for a couple hours to give me space to make these videos, and I'm so grateful for that, but she's not able to next month. So I'm going to be sharing more vlog style videos. The kids will be around. It might be a little less tidy, but we will bring you some real life, and I'm looking forward to sharing more with you next week. Take care until then. Bye.